Today on Built to Last, the love for custom cars and hot rods appear in different forms. Find out how some customizers built that love for hot rodding one piece at a time. Next.
I got a T-mount Ford in a flathead mill, 2 carburetors and a dress to kill, cyclone head and an awful clutch, top down top mansion much too much. Well, she shakes and rattles at about red line, and nothing in the world feels quite so fine. And only your dress when I go past, she built for speed. Yeah, she built to last. Well, she built for speed. Yeah, she built to last. Well, she built for speed. Well, she built to last.
This episode of Built to Last is brought to you by The Hood, New Mexico. Visit us at thehoodnewmexico.com. Meet the hot rod builders and customizers who create beautiful pieces of art on 4 wheels with just a few pieces of plastic, paint, and a bit of glue.
I truly believe that that's where it started from. You know, that love, the passion for cars, once you get to that point, it starts at, you know, the imagination on 4 wheels, it starts somewhere. So, for instance, for me, it started with Hot Wheels, then model kits, and then sketching them, and then drawing them, and then just thinking about them. And then eventually it leads to real cars.
My dad was a hot rodder when he was a kid. Bought cars, fixed them up, raced them, sold them, all that good stuff. So of course, when I'm a kid, you go out in the garage, work with your dad. My dad let me work on carburetors. I pulled a carburetor apart, was the first thing I did. It interested me, how it worked and everything. Well, then my dad bought a project car, so I start working on the project car with my dad. Next thing you know, I'm building models, car models, the little toy car models with my friends. And you start building more and more, learning more and more, and I got more and more interested, and next thing you know it, the bug bit, and here I am today.
I remember model kits. We're originally from Los Angeles, and it probably had to have been 1987, 88, around there. And it all started with my uncles, and my uncles were real big into lowriders, and you know, just cruising, and whatever they could get their hands on, they just wanted to lower it. And so like me as a kid, when I got my first model kit, I knew that I wanted to replicate that cool car like my uncles had in the yard, you know what I mean? So like when I got it on plastic, I was like, oh, I just want to slam it and put some wheels under it. So that's kind of where it took off from.
Model's simpler in a lot of ways than a car, but difficult in other ways. It's obviously a very simple toy, but it gets you the basics. I mean, that's how I learned the basics of cars, really, by building car models. You know, you have to put all the little parts together on the engine, you have to put the engine in the car, put the wheels and tires together, paint it, which is sometimes the hard part, you know, painting even a small thing like that. And it definitely translates over to working on a big car, that's for sure. Because I know that's where I got the basic of all my knowledge, was starting with toy cars.
You know, it all starts down from the family. Some of my family were like real big into sketching and painting and everything like that. So when it came to me, as like me showing what I can do, like I put it towards cars. Anything on 4 wheels, I wanted to show art, and I wanted to have it laying low. I wanted to have it painted and chromed out and everything, and that's where it came from for me.
Everybody I know is my age or older all started by playing with Matchbox or Hot Wheels, and then building models, and then either their dad or their uncle or maybe a family member was into a car, a real car, and they got interested and worked on it with them, and it snowballs. And then, you know, you get old enough, you can buy your own car and have your own hot rod. So I think the foundation really is starting with these little cars and with the model kits, because personally, all the people I know, that's how they all started, from when they were kids.
You're watching Built to Last. classic cars, motorcycles, original art, oddities, and one-of-a-kind jewelry. Find them all at The Hood, New Mexico. Visit us at thehoodnewmexico.com.
You know, I came back to model kit building after like 15 years, and it was because, you know, as growing up, things come up in life with family. You know, you start working and you know, reality in life just hits you. So there's some times where like you can't spend that amount of time in the garage wrenching and cutting and welding and stuff like that. So, you know, in order to get what I call like my high, my fix, to feel as if I'm still doing it, I came back to modeling, because right now I'm at that point in my life where I have to focus on something else other than myself. And in a way, like, I can still do what I love to do for myself, but at the same time, it doesn't take that much time out of me. And I can still get things done.
A lot of the old kits were made so they could be mass produced. A lot of the newer kits are made very technically advanced to be very accurate to the car. The way they scale them down to what the features they have to put in the cars, you'd be surprised. They're actually very accurate, a lot of them. Some of them, of course, need some tweaking, and that's what we do. We come in, we customize them a little bit. You can add things to them, but that's the fun of the model. You can put your own creativity if you want into it.
My goal when I build a model kit is like to have it resemble an actual car. I gotta build cars that would resemble an actual car that you would see at a car show or cruising around or whatever. It's gotta replicate reality, like realism, you know what I mean? One, my first thing is like, boom, it's gotta be slammed. It's like a real car. Whenever I get a hold of a real car too, it's like, man, I gotta drop it. I gotta slam it. I gotta put like little wheels or cool hubcaps on it or something.
What inspires me about models is I've built some for my personal stuff, like was my own car, reproducing it that I don't have anymore. I built my grandfather's truck because it was one of my earlier childhood memories. And then other ones I go crazy with. I just let my creativity go, and it's a great stress reliever. You know, you sit up late at night and you build a model and you kind of forget about the world around you. And it's a lot of fun and get a lot of enjoyment out of it. And that's what pushes me to keep doing it. You know, it's the experience. And once you've created something, you get a sense of accomplishment. You know, when you see it sitting there, you think, hey, I built that. That's pretty cool, you know?
Some companies that are from out of the country, they're model kit brands and stuff, they're recreating some amazing pieces that replicate them almost perfectly. And one of the kits that's almost spot on is this one, as a matter of fact, it's called Galaxy Limited Model Kits. And the reason I know this is because I've actually owned 47 and 48 Chevys, and everything from the rear leaf springs to the rear end to the front end, you know, and even the straight six, the 216 motor, the air cleaner filter, everything is pretty much spot on perfect. Everything from the steering wheel, and when it comes down to scale, I mean, everything is spot on with that kit. And there's other companies too that do a great job, but you can tell a difference. You can tell a difference.
A lot of them have not been reproduced. There are new companies now. There's a conglomerate that bought a lot of the old model companies' issues up, and they're reproducing them now. But then there was a lot of the model kits that were never reproduced. Molds were broken, molds were destroyed, whatever. So those are the hard ones, and they're kind of hard to find, and they're expensive. I mean, about the only place you can find them is estate sales, if you're lucky, maybe a flea market, eBay, you know, Etsy, somebody selling a collection, Facebook, whatever. But yeah, they're kind of hard to find. I mean, some of them, you know, if you're looking for a specific car.
Most of my collection is from AMT model kits. There's some builders that complain about it having mold markings or a little too much flashing or stuff like that. And it's like a real car. Like I said, you have to do your prep work. Like a real car, you would have to prep your metal. Same thing with a plastic car. You would have to prep your plastic. You would have to clean the fenders and all the excess plastic and everything like that, and do some shaving and sanding and everything. And to me, it doesn't bother me. But there's some other guys and people that would complain. They would just look at it and like, oh my God, this is trash. And whatever, sell it off on eBay. But no, I'm willing to take on the task on whatever comes out of that box.
The big customizers today have gotten a lot of their ideas and things from past designers and past models. I know one in particular, George Barris, one of the famous designers. He loved building car models and kit bashing, like they call it, taking pieces from other cars and building unique cars out of them. And I think that was the birth of all this customizing for all these different things, was a lot of these old model kits. You could get a lot of different custom parts in there and totally create your own unique car. And I think that's something they should do more of now, because that does, make people use their creativity, and get them out of their shell and put what they think is cool into a car instead of just reading the directions and building the way it says. It's like, well, let yourself go. It's just for fun. Build your own car. It's so pure, it's just so pure. That was the days when it started, like Ed Big Daddy Roth and a lot of these guys that pioneered a lot of stuff, Von Dutch, the Edelbrocks. I mean, they just did what they thought was cool, and isn't that what it's all about?
It all starts like a real car. You start with your base, your foundation, your wheels and tires, your suspension, your frame, your motor, the body, then your interior, then your exterior pieces like your chrome trims and bumpers, windshield wipers, metal trimmings and trims around the windows. And I go as far as making my own custom accessories, and it's stuff that they don't issue or make in those model kits. Everything, like my accessories, are all custom made. So you could go from your accessories and stuff, and you can go to as far as color sanding it like a real car, color sanding it, buffing it out till you get that full shine. And then, once you get it all ready, you just dust it off like a final build. Once the car's getting ready to roll out of the garage, you just kind of overlook it and, stir at it for a while, make sure it's not missing anything. And like a real car, once you're ready to roll, boom, you're gonna hit the streets. But with this thing, it's like, man, that's cool. And now it's gonna go to the shelf and just collect some dust. During that process, you just gotta remember to have patience. Just take your time, take it easy, like anything else that you would do in life. Because if you rush things, it never works out. It never works out. If you pre-plan, work through it, through the obstacles, because sometimes these things aren't perfect from the box. I've encountered times where, like, I get an old school kit or a model kit that's been sitting out at a swap meet for 3 days in direct sun, or who knows where they've had them storage, where the body's warped or the frame's warped or whatever. Then you have to go through that to figure out how to straighten things out, to get the car done, get it to align correctly, and stuff like that. Just be patient. Just be patient, and the end results are gonna be, they're gonna be good as long as you're patient. Just try it. Just try one out. You'll see that, if you have the patience to go through with it, you'll see how easy it is to get taken away from everything that's going on once you get into one of these.
You're watching Built to Last. Represent the Hood with the coolest apparel in town, available only at the Hood, New Mexico. Visit us at thehoodnewmexico.com.
it's a dying hobby. A lot of the things that we were doing as kids is dying out. Growing up for me as a kid, you know, I used to hang out a lot in Juarez, Mexico. And back in the day, all the kids, when we'd go over there, we'd spend a lot of time over there. The kids would go out and they'd hang out and ride their bicycles and basketball, soccer in the middle of the street, or they were just playing games. They were involved. And now, you know, we step outside, there's not one kid out there throwing a football. There's not one kid out there playing with the top or jumping jacks. There's not one kid, you know, it just seems like technology, cell phones, televisions, everything like that just took away from all that. And today's kids, they're not really paying attention to any of the old school hobbies. You know, it's building a model kit for me back in the day was like, man, that was my it thing. If I got $10 from allowance, I was gonna hit up Michael's and I was gonna go get a kit. And it's just dying out. Believe it or not, it's kind of sad to say it's dying out.
I see a lot of people now that don't want to do the hands-on stuff. A lot of them don't want to do the work, it seems. They don't want to start from the ground up, or they're afraid to. And these days, to be honest with you, it's the financial part of it too. It's expensive, you know, and I get it. But a lot of these, like starting with the model kits, we tell the parents, if you go to Hobby Lobby, let's say, you can buy it for 40% off. Okay, it's 15 bucks. I get that. Buy some paints, it's another 10 bucks. You got 25 bucks in it. How much did the video game cost that you just bought your kid last week? $60? You know, so this is the way I look at it. It's like one or the other. But you may not want to do that, but at least if you show it to your kids and you offer it to them and let them decide for themselves if they enjoy it or not. And I think a lot of kids will find a lot of fun in it, and hopefully they'll be our next builders.
Over the years, it's getting more complicated because, you know, toy stores are closing down. And for that reason, you know, kids are so distracted with technology. Not too many kids playing with toys anymore. So Toys R Us is gone. KB Toys is gone. I mean, what's left? You know, what's left? Those are the main guys. So yeah, it's dying out. It's dying out. And pretty soon it will be a thing of the past, but I'm at least doing my part. Like I try to, whenever I go to a yard sale or a auto swap meet or a car show, or there's a guy there trying to sell some model kits or whatever, yeah, I'll pick them up, I'll buy them, you know, because I don't want him not to sell them, and at the end of the day, him just go to a dumpster and like toss them out because, well, nobody cares about this crap anymore, so, you know.
I used to have a small store here in town, and one of the first things we did is we set up a double-lane Hot Wheels track. So the kids could come in for free, pick out any car they wanted and go race it. Because to me, that was the simplest thing they could do to start to get them interested in cars. And then from there, maybe sell them a model kit and get them to build a model and start collecting these cars and get a love and an interest for them that will translate later on to hopefully them buying their own car and fixing it up. You know, be that a 98 Honda or a 55 Chevy, I don't care, whatever it is. To me, it's all the same, as long as you have the love of doing it and enjoy doing it.
One, don't throw away model kits. Like, don't throw them away. Put them up on eBay, put them up on your local buy and sell, put them up on your Facebook or whatever it is. Just don't throw away plastic, because it's not what it used to be. And like I said, it's dying, you know, and you're only helping killing it off completely by just tossing away your old kits. You know, if they belong to your brother, or even if your sister was into it, or whatever the case might be, you find them in the attic, you find them in an old room you never go into, or whatever the case might be. Just hang on to them, put them up. Somebody's gonna come for them. I guarantee you somebody will come for them.
I guess what I tell people is, you know, I see a lot of people at a lot of shows hold back from buying their kids things and from subjecting their kids to these things. And I say, at least offer it to them, let them. You know, buy them a car, buy them a model kit. The first one they do, they're probably gonna be like me. It's gonna turn out horrible. It's gonna look horrible, it's gonna be painted horrible, but so what? As long as the kid has fun doing it and learns something, I think you subject them to that. You know, even if they're not gonna take off with that, at least give them that offer and let them try to do that. Give them that chance. And you never know. You never know.
I build for myself. Like, I don't build for, you know, to show off or to collect trophies or to be on a magazine or, you know, anything like that. I just build for my own self-pride. It's just because, like I said earlier, it's like I just build to keep the hobby alive. And that's it. That's all I'm looking forward to. Is like me doing it is like keeping it going. If I'm not doing it, then somebody else just died out in the hobby.
The next generation's coming up. If we're gonna keep this alive and pass this on, I think those kids at least should be able to experience that, to see if it sticks with them.
If somebody were ever to take on the hobby, when I build, I would like for somebody to have something to relate to. I don't want to scare them away from the hobby. You know, I don't want to scare them away from my build or something that they can't relate to. At least in this way, if they want to take up on it, they can at least say like, hey, well, I can build something close to that, or I could build something better than that, or I could build something just like that. You know, and if I build it completely out of this world where like you come in and have working headlights and signal lights and working components and stuff, and that's just gonna completely scare somebody away. They're gonna be like, wow, like, no, I can't do it. So at the end of my builds, I just wanted to replicate a actual like old school cruiser, and it's something that everybody can relate to. I do recommend this hobby because it's just, it kept me like straight as an arrow. It kept me like in line from everything from like, you know, taking direction and being able to read the instructions and to be able to follow through and to be able to finish what you started. I highly recommend it. It's just something that'll really take your mind off of, well, for me as an adult, like right now, it takes my mind off of things that are going on, you know, and it's just one of those things that some people go fishing, some people sit on the front porch drinking a beer, some people just sit out there listening to the radio to get away a little bit. But for me, I just come to build, and it's like everything that's bothering me is like, it's just me using my brain, my hands, my imagination, and yeah, everything else is just gone.
Well, I think family is number one. You know, we come into this world, all we have is our family when we come into this world. We leave this world, we're surrounded by our family. Family is number one. But if I can do what I love and my family goes along with me, who I love too, it's all the better. I mean, it's a win-win situation. And I got my kids into it early. You know, my kid's first car now is an older car. It's the way you transition it to carry it on through generations, I think. You know, you truly pass it down. Like I said, my dad started out as a hot rodder when he was young, and obviously it transitioned into me, and now I'm pushing it onto my kids. So it's very important for me to keep it family oriented and take my family along when I do this stuff.
It all starts somewhere, you know, especially for the kids. If you get a hold of a model kit, you know, that'll spark a kid's interest to maybe further it, you know, anything on wheels. Whether it's a bicycle or a skateboard or a classic car or your grandpa's truck that you never paid attention to that's laid out in the backyard. Just anything, you know, even if it's parents that can help spark their kids' interest in that. Because without a little push, there's nothing there, you know what I mean? And who knows what they'll be into. Maybe they'll be into cooking, maybe they'll be into flying or something, I don't know, you know, but it's just, me, I had that push. And if it weren't for that push with model kits, or, you know, with Hot Wheels, and then from Hot Wheels to model kits, and if it weren't for model kits, I never would have jumped into actually welding and grinding on actual classic car sheet metal, you know what I mean? When it came to like airbag suspensions or a chop top or bending some metal and stuff. You know, if it weren't for that, I really don't know where I'd be. And I thank a lot of my family for it, and I especially thank an uncle of mine that really pushed me into getting into model kits. I was able to start a little business from it, and it was not bad. Things are good, and you know, I was able to go from here to realism, and when it took off, it got good, you know. And there was times where I had, you know, instead of 3 model kits, there's 3 cars laying out in front of the garage, you know, getting ready for sheet metal work or a lowering job or whatever the case might be. But yeah, you know, if it's, all I can say is that it's a good thing. And if there's a parent out there that can really, if there's a parent out there that really can't find out what's going on with their kiddo, or they can't find what they like, or what they love to do, if you haven't tried something like that, you know, just try it out. There's different ways to spark a kid's interest in it, and that was my interest. I couldn't find mine until I got pushed, and hey, you know what? Being pushed into something wasn't a bad thing. And no, that's where it took off from. Just keep the hobby alive, because pretty soon it's just gonna die down.
Whatever art form you use to pay your respects to the American tradition of hot rodding, never stop creating. You never know who you're gonna inspire. See you next time. We would like to give a big thank you to the Hood, New Mexico for sponsoring this episode of Built to Last. Your shop was absolutely amazing. There's nothing quite like the treasures you will find here. Visit them at thehoodnewmexico.com.